Pizza, pizza.
Tota jata. It made so much sense when I found out that was Brian Blessed.
Who's Brian Brislett again?
He's a British actor, explorer, writer, comedian, everything.
Okay.
Big dude with the beard. Have you seen the Flash Gordon film?
No.
Oh, he's in Doctor Who. Mind Warp. He's in Mind Warp. He's the big bearded
I
guard.
haven't seen Mind Warp.
He.
When you say a big guy, I just think of the blue guy from
Hang on.
Series 6.
No, hang on. I'll show you an image of him.
Apparently, the guy who used to be the security guard at my work knows the big blue guy from Series 6.
That's cool.
You know, Doctor
Ooh. Doctor Who. Yeah. That's cool. Interesting little bit of trivia. Brian Blessed though. I'll show you a picture of his face because you may recognize it. He's notorious for being loud. He was in Blackadder.
Okay. So he plays
Boss Nass.
Boss Nass.
Yeah, he's insane.
Be gone with him. Very obviously a rip-off of Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
And way less entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah. What else has Brian Blessed been in other than Doctor Who?
Peppa Pig?
Apparently so.
Oh, he's the father. He has to be.
He might be, yeah.
He's got the deep voice.
Yes, yeah. Have you watched Peppa Pig?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
When I was younger, I watched it. And
Ah,
I
nice.
watch the YouTube poop memes now.
Of course.
I think it's like, there's one, it's like, it's an episode of Peppa Pig, but every time there's a snort, it gets faster.
Of course. Boisterous British actor known as Brian Blessed. Brian Blessed. Star Wars Episode 1. Alexander. That's terrible.
Piper picked your bag of paper papers.
174 credits to his name.
174.
Yep.
What? Shed of the Dead.
I don't know why that made me laugh so much. Eirich the Barbarian. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Peppa Pig. Grampy Rabbit.
Danger Mouse. Isn't that the fucking Vince McMahon wanted Neville to be Danger Mouse?
I think so, yeah.
Oh no, it was Mighty Mouse.
Oh, Mighty Mouse, that's right, yeah. Toast of London. Lego Dimensions.
Yeah.
A lot of, hang on.
Isn't it like the Lego Dimensions game with all the doctors in it?
Yeah, you can play as all the doctors.
Yeah.
And Missy's in it.
I'm Doctor Who.
No. And then there's lots of
That's
stuff.
the main reason why World Enough in Time's not a 10. Is that
Yeah.
first 5 minutes is so shit.
It gets to me. It gets to me, I'm not gonna lie. I'm the target that Moffat was trying to annoy with that
Yep.
spiel, and he succeeded.
Although nothing will annoy... I don't think anything will annoy me more in a troll way than the Death in Heaven titles.
No, nothing more will annoy me than watching the entirety of Series 9 thinking it was going to end well.
Yeah, but that's a serious problem.
Are you sure?
I'm talking about...
Are you sure it wasn't a big troll?
Oh.
Sometimes I feel like he may have just been taking the piss, because no one with a modicum of intelligence like Moffat could have done that.
But there's people that like Hellbent.
Demons of the Punjab! Genesis Evangelizani. Fuck, I do it every time. Patreon.com/Genesis Evangelizani if you want to support us. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. And
Thank you.
If you're on
Thank
the
you very
master
much.
tier, then like with the experimental episodes video, you can request us something to do, and we'd oblige.
Yes.
Cool. Connor,
Yes.
what was your initial reaction to Demons of the Punjab?
Okay. So, I went into it with really low expectations.
Yes, after the Saranga conundrum.
After the Saranga cancer. And then, so I
Conundrum.
cancer. Anyway, I went into Demons of the Punjab with really low expectations. And I was pleasantly surprised. Not a perfect episode. It's got issues, but at this point, I'm grateful for
Something that's solid.
Yeah, something that's solid.
Yeah.
My feelings on it are very similar to Rosa in a lot of respects, I would say.
Here.
Now, if you're going into this review fresh, you might think, oh, that's a bit of an overreaction. Rosa's a classic. Well, actually, if you watch my Rosa review, I don't have as highly an opinion of Rosa as a lot of people do.
No. I really like it. I like Rosa more than him, but I'm still of the belief that Rosa's got quite a few significant flaws that come from being in Series 11 and being show ran by Chris Chibnall.
Yes. And I actually do think Chris Chibnall invaded Rosa quite a bit, and that was part of the problem.
Yeah, that seemed that way.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to invade this as much, though.
No, and I was grateful for that because this was the first episode of Series 11 where I couldn't sniff Chibnall on it, and that's probably because he wasn't in writing credits.
Yeah, and even the moments where they stopped and talked about their feelings, they were really good. In fact, my highlight of the episode is the moment where they stopped and talked about their feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, a real solid episode. That it could have been a lot better, but
could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, could have been a lot worse. Yeah, it's my initial reaction. I did really enjoy it, and whilst over the last few weeks I've softened on it slightly, I still consider it to be quite a good episode.
Yeah, I'm much of the same opinion. Very good, but there's quite a few niggly things that hold it down, which I don't think necessarily is specifically the episode's fault, but more so a product of it being under the show running of Chris Chibnall.
Yeah.
And this direction they've taken the series.
Last time on Staring a Conundrum Review, we were referencing Flatline, and how Flatline is held back by Series 8.
Yes.
Because Flatline is an idea that could have been one of the greatest episodes ever.
Yeah.
And the actual direction and tone and writing of Series 8 holds it back in some regard, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and there's a sort of similar thing going on with this one, except I think it affects this one even more than
because the negatives of Series 12, Series 8, certain elements are much more damaging, but on an episode by episode basis, are less.
There is some breathing room, I think, with Series 8.
Series 8 let the episodes feel more like their own identities, whereas each episode of Series 11 does have a cohesive feel, but unfortunately, that cohesive feel is so passive and bland, at least to my tastes, that this brilliant story that's being written here with the Demons of the Punjab, in an environment we've never really seen before in Doctor Who, which is extraordinary.
There are lots of aspects to this I did really like on first viewing.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm very much the same. It's kind of let down a little bit, but it's still a very, very solid story. All right, let's let's jump right in with the Doctor.
I've heard some comments saying that this was the first time she got something proper to do in the series, but strangely enough, I feel like she was one of the things about the episode I wasn't too keen on.
Yeah, again, just like with the Saranga Conundrum, she's passable, but she doesn't. The writing of this Doctor is very surface level.
Yeah.
There's no. Connor mentioned while we were rewatching it, it doesn't feel like she's not telling us anything, which the Doctor doesn't need to have a secret per se. But
fucking Matt Smith.
Secret he will take to his grave. But then again, that secret turned out to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
The War Doctor was awesome.
That's true.
Moffat
dodged a bullet.
Yeah, he actually paid something off really well.
Yeah, God. John Hurt saved Moffat's career.
Only to be sabotaged 2 years later.
Series 7, if it hadn't been for that reveal, Series 7 might be the worst ever.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the Demons of the Punjab. She feels very flat to me, and it's not Jodie's performance. She's trying so hard.
So what I specifically said during the rewatch was, this is a TARDIS team of 4, which is very similar to the first Doctor's TARDIS team. And people will say, well, the first Doctor didn't get as involved in the stories either, right? But the difference being the first Doctor was an enigma. We didn't know anything about him.
Exactly.
Really. So there was so much intrigue as to what he was going to do because we didn't understand who he was really.
Yeah.
We didn't know his backstory. We didn't even know he was an alien really.
No, we didn't.
There was so much to question about the Doctor at that point. Whereas we've seen so much from the Doctor that going back to surface level, I mean, I guess if you're a new viewer it's a bit different, but for us, going back to surface level just feels like she's a caricature of the Doctor.
Yeah, but even on surface level, I just struggle to see why people would find this version of the Doctor,
Yeah.
if this was their first Doctor,
Yeah.
find her so engaging.
Yeah.
Because she feels quite hollow as a character. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like there's any
And
depth
she
to her.
also doesn't feel like she, aside from waving a screwdriver around,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like she actually impacts the story that much.
No, she feels kind of just like a kooky side character, like comic relief.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel... And this is, again, not a slide on Jodie at all. It's purely the direction they've taken this character. I'm going to probably point fingers at Chris Chibnall because he's the showrunner.
Yeah.
The direction they've chosen for her is so...
Yeah, and I get like trying to get the Doctor away from the whole he's the most important person in the universe.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
Space
for sure.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He's the fucking the cornerstone of all life and death. Like I get that they're trying to get away from that.
They're trying to pull it back to basics.
But it's just the way what they've replaced it with is just
Nothing.
It's nothing. Yeah.
There's nothing there, and it's such a shame. Like, I just don't feel anything from this version of the Doctor, and that's not Jodie's fault at all.
Yeah.
I really want to reinforce that because I love Jodie Whittaker as an actress, but she's just got nothing to do. They're not giving her enough rounded of a character.
Yeah, like how was she gonna develop as a Doctor if she's got nothing going on?
No, yeah.
I feel like she's kind of like, in terms of her development, she feels like an anti-Eccleston, where like
Yeah.
Christopher Eccleston in every episode had such an impact on the story.
And there was baggage behind his eyes.
Yeah, there's baggage behind his eyes. You learnt something about him new in every episode.
Yeah.
And there you brought out different sides of the character in every episode. And like, there was so much focus put on him as a character.
For sure.
Whereas with Jodie, it's just like, aside from her surface level personality, there's just nothing there. It's like the Doctor's suddenly lost all, not purpose, but just everything that makes the Doctor such an interesting character is just not there.
Yeah.
And we're already like over halfway through the first series for her, and I still don't know who she is.
No. I just don't have... I've been given no real character beyond surface level stuff.
Yeah.
Like...
I feel like...
And the thing is, like, surface level stuff for the other Doctors as well, they had catchphrases and stuff that to trick people into the illusion of some form of character, but before they develop fully into actual characters in their own setting. But she's had nothing.
Yeah.
Like, she's sort of sciencey.
I mean, this far into the series as well.
That's my point, is the fact
Yeah.
that, like, Doctor's having a little bit of a emptiness to them in the first couple of episodes and first couple of stories is fine because they're still, the writers are still finding their footing, the actor is still finding their footing. But in this case, we're over halfway through, and this version of the Doctor has no defining element or moment. She hasn't had the basically run moment or the... Like, she had that brief thing on the crane, but it was such a, again, surface level thing.
Yeah, and it felt like it literally felt like a copy paste of the 11th Hour, but
Nowhere near as good.
nowhere near as good.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It really is.
Yeah, and it almost feels like her character has actually regressed
Yes.
since the first episode.
She feels less of a character than she did to begin with.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's...
Like I said, she just feels more like a caricature of the Doctor than the Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't... Yeah, there's nothing. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
There's nothing to latch onto. Especially when it's such a rich and interesting character.
Exactly.
At least with you haven't seen the Twin Dilemma,
No, but I've seen clips.
but at least when Colin Baker came out and it was incredibly unlikable, there was a distinct thing there.
Yeah.
Like, it was an incredibly unlikable thing, but there was something to talk about. There was something to latch on to emotionally, be it positively or negatively. He just came out with the fury. They wrote him like a bastard. But Jodie, she's just so... I mean, she's active in the story, but she's a passive character. And I don't mean a passive fist. I mean literally passive in terms of the action of the story. And it's just really frustrating, especially as we keep saying this far into the season. Who is she? Who is she?
Yeah, and it also feels like when she's faced with danger, aside from that one scene where she breaks Krasko's device, it just feels like she doesn't actually stand in and do anything.
No.
She just talks.
She either gives exposition or hears exposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, alright, I suppose. Anything else to say about the Doctor?
No, it's just underwhelming.
Really underwhelming. Perfect.
Oh, actually, stop it with the screwdriver. I'm so sick of that now.
I hate the screwdriver.
Yeah.
Not the design. Whatever. I couldn't care less about the design.
She's worse than Matt Smith at this point with the screwdriver. When
the Pating ate the screwdriver, I was actually smiling last time because I was like, thank God. Now she's just going to have to use her brain and not just point the magic wand.
Yeah.
I'm sick of the screwdriver.
Yeah. I think the sonic screwdriver is the worst thing about this episode.
It was such a get out of jail free card for any moment of tension.
Yeah.
Other than the ending moment where it's literally a real thing of a guy getting shot. All the alien stuff, she just waved her wand and she was fine.
It's frustrating.
Alright, let's move on to Ryan. Bit of a non-entity in this episode.
Yeah.
Not bad. He just stood there and said a couple lines and didn't really have a major impact.
This is why we need longer stories.
Or less characters.
Longer stories. Because if this had been a two-parter... I'm going to say this about every story, but if this had been a two-parter, you could have done something with Ryan. Take him to another place. Focus more on the political side of the story.
Take him, I believe it was Pakistan and India they were talking about. Take him to Pakistan.
Yeah.
And have the others in India.
Yeah.
And then through that you can educate people more on the patrician.
Yeah. You know what I would have loved is if there was a whole other side to the story, the political side, where each character gets this perspective of both sides.
Yes.
And then you get the very end, last scene, you get that confrontation between both sides.
Yeah.
And
it's right in the center with these two brothers.
And it's not so black and white.
Yeah.
You get an actual reason for everyone's motives.
Yeah. And because for me, I really like history, but this was something that I'm not really familiar with at all. And I didn't really learn much other than I believe borders were being shifted.
Yeah.
Because toward the end of the war.
They presented some stuff that was really interesting, but I just wanted to know more.
Yeah, which is why I believe if it was a two-parter, it should have been a pure historical.
Yeah.
A two-parter pure historical.
Yeah.
And
that would have been the same length as your average classic historical, which was 4 parts in pure historical.
Yeah.
So 2-part new series, pure historical. Really, really develop lots of characters.
Yeah, you can...
And because it's a 2-parter, you can spend... better because you have utilize the same location.
And what you could have done is you could have the Doctor and Ryan, so probably develop their relationship a bit more beyond the couple of moments of dyspraxia dialogue that they had, which was very surface level. Actually have them in danger on the other side. Like they get split up. Say they arrive and immediately guards pull 2 of them away and the others to escape.
Yeah.
And then Graham and Yaz find Yaz's grandmother. And she realizes, oh, that's my grandmother. And sure, that might be a bit plot contrivancy, but no more than her bumping into her would-be grandfather. So, little plot conveniences like that can be okay. Like, I don't mind the fact that she just bumped into them, whatever, just keep the story moving. But you could have done something so much more intriguing with this by focusing on the political side of it. And then building more and more and more. Because the thing is, I really liked what they presented. I just wanted more of it.
Yeah.
I wanted. It felt a little underdeveloped purely because there wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And
to reference the Game of Thrones, spoilers if you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
but what makes the Red Wedding such a great storyline is not just the wedding, but the politics behind it.
yeah, like if we'd never met, like if we had no idea who the God, not the Lannisters, the Freys were.
Yeah.
Like if we'd never heard of them before, and this was just suddenly came out of nowhere, and they murdered the Starks, you'd
Yeah.
be like, what the hell? But because there was this pre-established,
Yeah, we had gotten all this backstory and all the different houses before the event.
yeah,
So you knew all the motives of every character going into
Yeah.
it, but like it was misleading as well.
and so the fact that it all came to a head, like you understood where everyone was at, and you could even have like the guard who ends up shooting the brother. You could have him as literally he's a guy who's like, I'm just fighting because it's what I need to do to survive.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
Yeah,
So then you can almost feel sympathy for the guy who shoots him because even though you don't want him to shoot the brother, you understand if he doesn't, he'll probably be reprimanded and something will happen to his family. You know, it's just, there's a lot of that could have been done, and unfortunately, we've completely lost track of Ryan, but that's because he had nothing in the episode.
Yeah. We're just suggesting what you could have done with Ryan.
Yeah.
Is put him in the political point of view.
Yeah. And give him, and like have him try
like having a 4-person TARDIS team
yeah.
is great for doing those kinds of stories.
Splitting the story down the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could have had Ryan talking about the importance of family without it seeming like hokey, because obviously his grandma died, his dad's gone, and Graham is now in a different country in India while he's in Pakistan, and he doesn't know if he'll ever see Graham again. And you could have a moment where he says, there's so many things, like he could believe that Graham is dead and say, there are so many things I wish I could have said to him.
Yeah.
And then finally he sees Graham at the end and just hugs him with no dialogue.
Yeah.
And you get that emotional punch.
If this was a 2-parter, you would have had a whole week to let that digest.
Yeah. Like, you could have developed Ryan's...
What they need to do is they need to do more stories where you feel like the team are...
in danger?
Like, one, in danger, but, like, they're literally, as we've said, in a even different countries to where the TARDIS is.
Yeah.
They are so far away
Yeah.
in their adventures that they have no escape without, doing something drastic.
I know, yeah. It's... Yes, and it felt to me like there was no building tension of the patrician.
No.
Like, it should have been this looming thing. Like in Family Blood and Human Nature and Family Blood, the sort of looming threat of the World War.
Yeah.
Even though it's just in the background, it's coming. It is coming. Something like that, where it's just, and you don't necessarily have to see it all, but it's presented in a concentrated way, as it was at the end with the brother the brother getting shot. But if you had more time to build up to it, it would have added more oomph. I mean, fuck the Saranga conundrum. Get rid of that. Make that Demons of the Punjab Part 1, and then make this Demons of the Punjab Part 2. And you could have the demons in the brother's flashback still, because then you wouldn't necessarily know, was that part of his head or was that a real thing?
Mm. Yeah.
Like, because that image of where you just sort of see them silhouetted, that would have been so unsettling and creepy and weird.
And then if you're struggling to fill time, just cut down the Sonic stuff, make it more of an adventure.
Yeah.
Because the Sonic stuff is shortcutting.
Yeah.
So just cut that stuff out, make it more of a, discovery.
This episode lent itself to having an emotional impact for all 4 of our leads. And it wasn't for any of them except maybe sort of Yaz.
Yeah. And the only reason why, well, we'll get on to those.
Yeah.
But, basically what it comes down to is, A, the great production, and B, Sega Nakanola's score, makes it feel better than it deserves to be.
Because it's so many brilliant ideas that just are held back by the way the show is presented.
Yeah.
And its current state.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't quite enough to push through that barrier to become excellent TV. It was good TV.
Yeah. And to make excellent TV in 45 minutes, you need an all-time great writer.
Yes.
And we just don't really, all due respect, but we don't really have those at the moment.
No. And or we do have them, but they seem to be constricted.
Yeah.
Like Mallory Blackman, was it Mallory Blackman?
Yeah.
She is, because of her novels, I've read some of Noughts and Crosses, I think, was her novel.
Yeah.
And that was really good, gripping stuff. But it just feels like she's being, like, the writers are being pulled back by the way the show is.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Graham.
So, you said to me that your favourite scene
Yes.
from this episode is when he finally gets to talk to Yaz.
Yes.
Which is, I think, the first time in the series they've had any kind of
Proper interaction, other than
Yeah.
saying a couple quippy lines back and forth.
fucking standing in a line. Just
Standing in a line, saying what we are going to do or what we are feeling.
oh, mate.
The scene where Graham talks about, like, and she's like, he talks about, look, we've just got to enjoy the moment. Look where we are. This is incredible. It's basically a sort of a reworking of our lives are like nobody else's. Like,
Graham feels like a classic style Doctor.
he feels like the second Doctor,
He feels more like the Doctor than Jodie does sometimes.
especially in this episode.
Yeah.
He had that heart, but honesty.
Mm.
He had the heart and the honesty, which, and the fact that he said, look, yeah, I know it's easier said than done, but you've really just got to try. I mean, this is incredible. No one would believe you.
Yeah.
And I was so gripped by that scene, and then suddenly,
Has Jodie actually mentioned yet that she's 2,000 years old?
probably an offhanded comment, surely.
I don't think so.
Weird.
I don't think anyone that started watching this series knows how old she is.
No.
But there's no tease of it either.
No. Other than the timeless child line, which could potentially...
Oh, yeah.
Other than that...
What if that just leads to nothing?
I mean, at this point, it could be. But yeah, Graham felt a bit more natural in this episode, especially compared to last episode. Graham was grounded and likable and had such an honest heart.
Graham has been excellent in everything except for the Saranga Conundrum.
Absolutely. And even in this, Bradley Walsh, like, his performance was a notch above what it had been previously, which is saying a lot because I really liked him in previous episodes. But in this, he just seemed really relaxed into the role.
Yeah.
He was just onto it in this episode. Not to say he was bad in the other ones, but in this, he was...
Just wanted more of him.
Yeah.
This is, again, if this had been a two-parter, we could have got more Graham.
Yeah. And, yeah, you could have had Graham and Yaz talking about... Like, Graham being an older man, giving advice about living up to your potential, but also learning from your failure. Like how you could have Yaz punishing herself for not being, a high-ranking police officer yet, and he says, look, you're only 21 or however old. You've got your whole life ahead of you, and you don't get to these positions without making mistakes. You have to learn before you can be good at something. Like, give him a mentory moment to Yaz, and then she can grow from that, and we get a little bit more of Graham's character, and, like, that grandfatherly figure to not just Ryan, but to Yaz as well. There was so much potential in this specific episode. It just felt like it was waiting to break free, but it just never did. It felt like Freddie Mercury in Drag, which is a reference to the I Want to Break Free music video.
Yes, I want to break free.
I want to break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied. I don't need you. I've got to break free. Yasmin.
The weird thing about Yaz is that this is an episode about her that doesn't develop her.
No.
It develops her family
Yes.
really well, but not her.
Yep. I feel like I know her sister better than I know her. Just from 2 episodes. And like 4
2
lines.
scenes.
Yeah. It's such a shame because, again, Yaz had so much potential and still does have potential to be a character who's... Because all we know about her is she wants to prove herself. Or that's what was presented in The Woman Who Fell to Earth. But they've done nothing with that.
She's just such a nothing character.
I know. She just stands around and says things. Just like everyone else.
God.
I want to go in more in depth with her, but there's nothing else I can say, really. She was just there. And this episode, which should have... We should have had more of her interacting with everyone. Just... This episode needed to be longer.
She's just bloody... I don't know. I don't feel negative or positive about Yaz.
She's just
in
there.
Any way.
Yeah.
She's just there.
Yeah, it's just such a pity. Like her, Graham and Ryan have potential,
Yeah.
but they're just not allowed to
Yeah.
breathe. It's just such a shame.
Like I feel like Clara is like the ultimate example of a Moffat girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like you could even say like River Song or Missy, right?
Yeah.
And then like Rose Tyler is like the Russell girl.
Yeah.
I feel like Yaz is the Chibnall girl. She's just nothing.
She's just there,
Yeah.
which is such a shame. Especially because
Yeah.
Mandip Gill is a very good performer, but they've not given her oomph.
Yeah.
Nani Umbreen.
So, okay, so are we going to talk about both versions or just the old one first?
Well, they're split up here, but we can talk about them both at the same time. Save
okay.
time.
They, I know it's different actors and I know it's different time, but they really don't feel like the same character to me.
No. We got nothing
Okay.
personality-wise from either of them that was developed enough to show that this was the same person.
In regards to old Nanny,
Yeah.
Breen, I like her in the first scene,
Yeah.
but I don't like her in the last scene.
Agreed.
Yeah, because she did a really good job at prefacing the story.
Yeah.
But then when it came to the end, when she's like, "I love you," it's just so cheesy and over the top. And like, this is an episode that highlights this death, and then it's ended with this real sort of like kids movie ending. It just doesn't fit. This, I know it's a family show, but this should have been an episode that ended sad. In my opinion.
It needed to.
Yeah.
It needed to. To really have that punch, it should have ended with Yaz looking grimaced, and then it just faded out. After we had the gunshot, that beautiful shot where it goes from the doctor as she winces when she hears the gunshot, and then it pans across and we see Yaz's face in slow motion. Having Yaz looking down, sad like that, fade to credits. That's where it should have ended.
Yeah.
There's not much else to say about.
Although, to be fair, the credits were pretty cool.
The credits were awesome,
but that's a different topic.
but that's we'll get on to that.
Yeah. The young version.
Her dialogue was wonky.
Yeah. Ooh, maybe it might have just been the actress.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's hard to say.
She seemed a bit off. Like, she didn't live up to this grandmother's gravitas.
There was no. I didn't get a personality, really. I got more of a personality from her mother or grandmother complaining about her future husband, her fiance's family is cursed. I got more of a personality from that woman than and the brothers, obviously, but and the wise man, the holy man.
Oh yeah.
He was great. He was only in one scene and then he died, but he's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. She was part of the story, but I didn't really focus much on her at all.
Nah.
I don't think the story really focused much on her at all, either.
It should have, but it didn't.
Her exchanges with, what's the guy's name? Is it Prem?
Prem, I think,
She married, yeah. Her exchanges with him were good, but like when it actually came to the story itself,
it's no impact really.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Prem. Highlight of the supporting cast.
Yeah. I think in regards to like outside of like the Graham stuff, I think he was the actor that did this really took it very seriously.
Yeah.
And treated it like it was a real drama.
He didn't have that fucking awful thing that the crane operator and the pregnant man had.
Yeah.
Where it seemed like they were playing it like wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
That's not the fault of the actors though. I think that was the direction they were given.
Yeah.
But this guy played it with intensity and believed everything he was saying. And
this guy, even I wouldn't say he's necessarily like the most interesting character, but he felt like a real person.
And for fucking once, we got show, don't tell.
Yeah.
When we saw a flashback.
Yeah, the flashback sequences were beautiful.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, that's that image where he looked up and he saw the demons in the fog, and then he got closer to his brother's corpse,
Yeah.
and they were gone.
That guy
That's
not
haunting.
only can he speak pretty well, but I think his facial expressions is the money for
Well,
him.
when he was standing up to his brother at the end and the other guys,
Yeah.
like he was being real serious, but there was a tear going down his face.
Yeah. But it wasn't over the top.
No.
It was very real.
It was very real, where he's just holding
Yeah.
back all this emotion just to try and make a point, try and talk convincingly, and it got him nothing. He got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was flashing back to like very sometimes you see like war movies that are like that. They have those scenes, and I was flashing back to that. I'm like, ooh, this is very real.
Yeah, it
Very
was good.
real. It was good.
He was a very raw performer.
Yeah, but I just feel like a lot of his stuff would have been better had the story been bigger.
Yeah.
And they utilized it more.
Exactly.
But the actors are he put in a very strong effort. Unfortunately, I think some of his scenes are chopped away by the fact that the supporting cast was such a mixed bag of actors
Yeah.
that it undercuts a little bit of his efforts.
And not just actors, but characters too. Like his brother.
Yeah.
Again, we needed his side as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just mysterious, my sources tell me, blah, 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 blah. Like, we show us the sources, like...
Show us the sauce. Where's the sauce?
Oh, man. It was just... Again, so much potential for a really rich, intricate story that just felt a bit glossed over. Purely because of the way the series is structured and presented.
Yep.
Not the fault of the writer, not the fault of the director, not the fault of the actors. Chibnall. And his MO, like his modus operandi for this series, didn't fit with what this episode could or should have been.
Yep.
Alright, after Prem we had Manish.
From memory, I think he was the weakest actor.
Yeah, but again, I don't know if that's his fault or if because his dialogue was his dialogue was quite aloof and mysterious.
He felt very
shallow.
How do I say it? I'm trying to think how to describe the way he spoke. It was kind of
Newscastery, where he's just delivering information.
Yeah, in comparison to Prem, who was very convincing, whereas this guy, sometimes it felt like he was reading lines.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but like his story had potential, and in moments it was good, but it's just I feel like his delivery was just a bit off.
And also, there wasn't enough. We needed more. Hasna.
I don't even remember. Sorry.
But she was the one who's like, your bloodline's cursed, blah, 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 blah.
More. We need more.
Yeah.
More politics, more point of view, like...
Character.
Yeah. Fucking Russell T Davies should have written this episode.
Yeah. This episode lacked texture. And again, I don't think that's the writer's fault. It's just they were on the back foot.
Yep.
Nanjia. Yaz's mum.
Oh, well, she was only in like the last scene.
Yeah.
Same as Arachnids in the UK. She's alright.
She's there. Hakim.
I assume it's her dad.
No, I think Hakim's the holy man. Because I don't think her dad was in this episode.
No, he was.
Was he?
Yeah, he was there. Very beginning episode, he was there in the kitchen.
Did he say anything?
Yeah, he had like one line.
Must have missed it.
Whilst you're sorting that one out, I just want to ask you guys a question, because I'm really struggling with it. How do you feel about Yaz's family feeling very normal? Because I find the fact that her family feel like really, really, really normal makes them not that interesting.
They just seem nice.
Yeah, they're real nice people. I'd love to meet them in real life, but...
As characters, they don't present much of an adverse... Like, even Jackie, who we adore, she was always barking down the doctor's ear.
Yeah.
Martha's mum, whose name is...
That cat from New Earth.
Yes.
Who needs arms when we have claws?
Stupid.
Hey, I got a friend who really likes New Earth.
Oh. Francine!
Francine!
Francine.
Jones, yes. Yes.
And then, of course, there was Donna's mother.
Sylvia!
Sylvia! Oh, they got progressively more unlikable.
Oh, yeah.
Sylvia, especially in Turn Left,
Oof.
made me want to break my screen. When there was that close-up of her face, and she was just, like, vacant towards... Demons of the Punjab! Demons of the Punjab.
I
Focus.
was about to bring up the Moffat mums, but they're literally only in one episode each. Like, there's
Do we see Amy's mum
the
ever?
Big Bang. Only the Big Bang. That's it.
And Clara's mum's
Oh, she's
in...
technically in Rings of Akaten and Time of the Doctor as
and Name of the Doctor. We don't see her speak, but I came into this world on a leaf. They show her again.
Right.
Yep.
And then we see what? It's not Bill. We see Bill's mum in Lie of the Land as a flashback,
Yeah.
but she's already dead.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the weakest aspect of Series 10.
By
Was,
far.
yeah, that whole Bill's mum thing.
Sonia.
Hmm?
Yaz's sister.
Oh yeah, she's funny, but one bullet point.
Yeah.
That's all I had to
She
say.
flirted with Ryan, and it was funny.
Yeah. I'd rather see Ryan get with her than Yaz at this point. Like,
She's got more of a personality than Yaz.
yeah.
Uh,
Yaz's personality is not a police officer.
Demons.
Ah, okay, so the demons. Right. Okay. Aesthetics.
Oh,
Fantastic.
yes.
Brilliant design, brilliant voice, brilliant look, brilliant music to go with them. I do like this sort of idea that they're like a better version of the Twice Upon a Time things.
Yeah.
The fact that they are watchers, that's cool. However, did they really need to be in this story?
No.
I don't think so.
Get rid of them. Spend more time focusing on the other characters.
I think the worst part about the demons is the fact that they allowed the Doctor to go off with her screwdriver and be dumb.
Yeah.
But the actual demons themselves were really cool.
They looked awesome. And there was that lovely moment at the end where we floated up and saw all the souls. But, like, we didn't need them.
Yeah, you've wasted a potentially, classic demon idea that could have been used in like a satanic episode. That design.
Don't turn around.
Yeah,
Don't look.
you can never use those demons again for anything else.
No, because when we see them, we'll know their shtick. We'll know that they're not a threat.
Yeah, and then if you say that they're evil, then that's just bullshit because we already know they're not.
Yeah, it's just retconning.
Yeah.
All right, let's get down to the bare bones. The plot.
We've already kind of
Covered it.
really.
It's a good plot, but it needs so much more.
Yeah.
And not in terms of it is lacking, but in terms of what's there needs to be expanded. It's not like it's lacking huge
Doctor
elements.
Who has this potential to be the most amazing, compelling television, and Demons of the Punjab has elements that could be that,
Yeah.
but it's not because of Chibnall
Yeah.
and the BBC
Yeah.
and Series 11 as a whole, and it's really annoying
Yeah.
because there's so many things about this episode that in moments captured me, but I wanted that for the whole episode and more, you know?
Yeah. I wanted. Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing felt restricted by the confines of it being under Chibnall's reign.
Correct.
All right, let's get into the writer, Vinay Patel. Felt like they were held back. Because it feels like they had a brilliant idea,
Yeah.
but they couldn't quite convey it in the way that would have made it brilliant, purely based on the fact that they had all these elements they were forced to juggle, whilst also not being able to be a two-parter.
Yeah. One thing I've always wondered is, will we see these writers do something that doesn't have to do with their culture?
Well, I hope so, because I hope they...
Because I'd like to see what could happen if Vinay Patel wrote about anything.
Well, because I think part of the MO of these characters, these writers being brought on, is to specifically... Because I have a suspicion Chibnall had these ideas for these episodes, but didn't want to write them himself. So he wanted to get someone who actually knew about it and had an effect on their personal lineage to write these stories. I get that vibe.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong, and they could have come up with these stories themselves. But it just seems to me, Chibnall came up with the idea for 10 episodes, and then for these couple of episodes, he got someone else who was a better writer to go and do it.
Well, they're all award winners, aren't they?
Yeah. So that's the thing is, yes, I'm sure they could and will and have, and I want them to, but in this case, I wanted more. I don't want less of what they've done.
Yeah.
I want more. I want to hear more about what they have to say about this part of history, because I don't know anything about it, and I want to hear more.
Yeah, I think Mallory Blackman's stronger than Vinay Patel, though.
I think Mallory Blackman's because she's a novel writer.
Yeah, even though I do think aesthetically, in terms of like the look, the feel, and the production, I did prefer this one. I think as a story writer, like
with characters
weaving you through the episode, I think Mallory Blackman is a lot better.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of gives the game away for my thoughts and the final thoughts, but Mallory Blackman is, I think, a stronger writer. Director, Jamie Childs.
That's interesting because he directed the first episode.
And that was sloppy.
Well, it was wrong. It was wrongly directed. It wasn't. I don't think it was too sloppy.
It wasn't bad. It just wasn't right.
Yeah, it was the wrong direction for the tone they were going for. However, I think the direction in this got it very right. I think.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah,
it was the best looking episode of the series.
One of the best ever, I reckon.
It was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. India looked amazing.
It was beautiful. Yeah, it was just truly stunning.
Yeah. Really plunged me into like that sort of Hartnell era-esque mood, you know, the landscape feel to it.
Yeah, even though it wasn't a matte painting, it felt like it could have been.
I was getting a bit sick of corridors, and I wanted something big, and they delivered on that front.
It felt open, and it felt like literally a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah.
Very, very good direction.
Very rich.
Very rich, yeah.
But there's beyond that, there's not much I can say other than
it was just
really
aesthetically
good.
pleasing.
Yeah. Music, Seigen Akinola.
Also awesome.
On top form.
Yeah, he does his best work in the historicals, I think.
Yeah, because this and Rosa are the two best scored episodes this series.
Rosa had more sort of motifs, whereas this was just like the vocal usage in this, like to like the actual all the scenes where you're supposed to feel emotion. I feel like without the music you wouldn't. They would feel like forced in scenes, but because the music and the direction is so good, it shortcuts your way to that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was really, really good.
The directing and the music in this episode is
on top form.
By far, I think, the best aspect to it.
Yeah, and probably the most polished of this series so far on both accounts.
Lovely.
But not that Seigen Akinola has ever been bad. It's just that he really shone in this episode.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the viewership.
Yep.
5.77 million overnight. But 7.4 million final.
Yeah. It's hard to tell because that's half of what Woman to Fell to Earth was, which isn't
good.
It's not good.
And we also noticed something whilst watching this. So we watch it on our equivalent of the iPlayer here in New Zealand. And at the beginning of the series, because they have forced ad breaks at the commercial break points in the episode. It's about 4 of them. At the beginning of the series, there was about 3 to 4 ads on average in those breaks. Everyone wanted to advertise during Doctor Who. Now there's 1, and they're about 10 seconds each.
Yep.
Advertisers aren't interested in Doctor Who as much.
Yeah.
The interest in advertising for Doctor Who plummeted.
And I noticed as soon as the Saranga Conundrum aired, that's when it really plunged.
It tanked, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Saranga Conundrum itself had maybe 2 ads per break.
Yeah.
This one had 1.
Yeah.
Which is considerably noticeable when it was like nearly a 60-second to 120 to about a 90-second ad break to begin with, to go down to 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's really telling. About at least in here and internally in New Zealand, the way advertisers view this show and its marketability, it just says a lot.
Yeah, the buzz around Series 11 in this country has really dropped.
No one's talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah, everyone was talking about it before the first episode, and now it's just...
Yeah. All my friends who are like super into Doctor Who, like they watched the first episode and they're like, okay. They were getting giddy about it, and then they've not mentioned it to me since.
Yeah, it almost feels like we're almost back to like Capaldi era where it's only us watching it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I haven't heard my friends mention it at all. Except maybe one person who's an editor, but she's forcing herself to watch it. Emma Jane?
Oh, yep.
She, like, I don't think she's enjoying it, but she's pushing through because she loves the show. Oh, and yeah, our mate Clayton, but he's like a super fan. He's got a tattoo of a weeping angel on his calf.
Yeah, but didn't you say he wanted to quit after Hellbent?
Oh yeah, he was mad.
Yeah.
And he's like the chillest dude you'll ever meet. He was mad.
Yep.
Anyway, there's nothing left to say. I guess we've reached it already. Conclusion and rating out of 10.
Yeah. So I was looking around at my sort of my range of episodes around the sort of area I was aiming for, and it's interesting because I was like, I might chip it down a bit, but then I reminded myself of where certain episodes rank in my head, and I've kept the same number score that I had when I first watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Because comparatively to other episodes, I still really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest saving grace for me for this episode is not only the direction and the music, but just even if the entire thing isn't spectacular,
it's new.
It's new, but also there are specific moments that I really enjoy.
Yes.
And that's, for me, was... Maybe it's not as much as Rosa, but similar to Rosa, there's moments that really, really capture me.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think because of that, it really ups this episode in my mind, even if there are parts that aren't as good. I tend to try focus more on the positive if I can. And yeah, when I think comparatively to other episodes that are ranked at a certain level, I think I think those moments that stand out from this elevated above those because for reasons, but I have to compare and contrast between them. Like Woman Who Fell to Earth, for example. If I can miss something from this series, I think I enjoy this a lot more than Woman Who Fell to Earth. Yeah.
Oh, by far, yeah.
Because Woman Who Fell to Earth was kind of a decent episode, but it was very flat, you know? Whereas this, half of it was decent and half of it was quite good.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also the aesthetic of India, and the fact that I'm learning some nuggets about new history that I didn't know before was really neat. I just wanted more from it. So at this point, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Excellent.
Yeah.
For me, I really enjoyed it. However, there was so much potential that I wanted more from it, which is a good sign because that means what's there I did enjoy. But your description of things that are average to good, average to really good in this episode is fair. Like the stuff I liked, I really, really, really liked, and the stuff I didn't like, I was quite apathetic towards. But there was nothing that overtly made me angry, except for things that weren't the writer, the director, the actor's fault. It's just the way Series 11 is being presented.
Yeah. So there's a real ceiling on
these
episodes, isn't there?
But it felt enjoyable. No negative emotion came other than just wanting more. I felt like a little bit lacking, but that's, again, not necessarily the fault of the writer. But it's not something that's going to stick with me for ages and ages. But I did appreciate the new aesthetic and it attempting to do a really emotional story, which in some aspects it really worked. So for me, it's a 7 out of 10. Really, really solid television.
Yeah. But we just want to it could have been so much more.
It could have been, yeah.
Like I wanted this. Like if the moments that we really liked, if that was consistent throughout, like
Yeah.
we'd be talking like 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
You know?
9.5 possibly even.
like,
Yeah,
like a classic, you know. But it's just unfortunately it just doesn't get there.
yeah.
Now, the ceiling of Series 11 is limiting how much I can rate these episodes compared to others.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's that. We've already seen Kablam, so we can't really do a preview for it.
Yeah, so
But we'll
check
get on
out the Kablam videos.
See you next time.